This is a brief explanation of what the edTPA entails at UNI. edTPA is a teacher performance assessment. It goes beyond theory to assess performance. It was designed by Stanford Center for Assessment, Learning, and Equity, better known as SCALE. UNI, as a contributing pilot site, had input into rubric language and additional modifications. edTPA assesses good teaching practices. In a nutshell, for edTPA teacher education candidates, they must plan 3 to 5 lessons and explain why they made the decisions they made in the planning. The candidate videotapes these lessons and describes how she or he creates a positive learning environment, asks good questions to advance learning, and how the candidate knows if the students learned. The candidate has to provide some assessments and student work and explain what he or she understands about what the students know based on the work, and it then must explain the next teaching steps the candidate will take to further advance learning. This is a graphic organizer for what students must do. You can see it focuses on planning, instruction, and assessment, and weaves through it academic language. These are specific documents the teacher candidate submits in planning, instruction, and assessment. Notice, the teacher candidate is doing what she or he has to do in student teaching. They have to plan, and they should know why they make the decisions they know in planning. They have to teach and should be able to analyze their teaching and explain the choices they made in the lesson. They have to analyze students' learning, provide quality feedback to students, and make choices on the next steps to advance learning. There are 15 rubrics on most edTPAs. This is a typical rubric that was used to assess a candidate's edTPA. The candidates have all 15 rubrics in their handbook. As a pilot site, we had input into the modifications on these rubrics. This is a typical rubric progression along each of the 15 rubrics. On the left, you have a candidate who is the sage on the stage and teaches only to the whole class with no individualization, and their lessons are fragmented, not connected together. On the high side, the lessons are student-focused, the teacher individualizes, and the lessons are integrated, intentional, and based on standards. This rubric supports the movement in schools. In schools, they are moving from a teacher-centered lesson and moving their teachers to more of a student-centered lesson. The Iowa Department of Education had a score-setting conference, and we had a UNI faculty member that was on that team. That faculty member's name was Dr. Nadine Davidson. This team set the scores needed to pass in each content and grade span on the edTPA. A passing score is 41, except in world languages, which it is a 35, because world languages only has 13 rubrics instead of 15. Every teacher candidate that is student teaching receives a handbook for edTPA. It provides specific directions, templates, and guidelines for edTPA. It's very thorough and content specific and grade span specific. So a high school mathematics teacher would complete a different edTPA with different rubrics than a middle level math teacher. A high school language arts teacher would have a different handbook and rubrics than the high school mathematics teacher. All of the elementary teachers at UNI must select one of 2 edTPAs to complete: elementary literacy or elementary mathematics. We use a web-based platform for students to submit their edTPA. That platform is called Show Evidence. We have student teachers in India, Costa Rica, Germany, and other areas of the world that submit the edTPA in addition to the Iowa students. Another great aspect of this platform is that faculty can view teacher candidates in their field and their edTPAs. They can provide feedback back to these student teachers, rating their performance locally. This provides us, as a teacher education program, a way to see how our candidates are doing at the end of the program. In addition, we also have trained 32 local teachers in the area to rate and locally score our candidates. These teachers always come in to review the rating process before they start to score each semester. These teachers love this professional development and this assessment. It allows them to tap into our teacher education program, and they also provide feedback to specific programs at UNI based on what they are seeing in our candidates. In summary, the edTPA allows candidates to show what they know and are able to do and be as great teachers. It is interesting that the Iowa Department of Education piloted an edTPA, which is called the Iowa Teacher Performance Assessment, last year. They also used Show Evidence, the same web-based platform that we use. The Department of Ed, is ramping up their pilot and allowing probationary teachers in the first 3 years of teaching to complete an edTPA to demonstrate their teacher ability to meet the Iowa teaching standards. That's something that all teachers have to be able to do to get a permanent license. It's also interesting to note that in a survey given to all principals in the state of Iowa, 354 principals responded, and 95.6% of these principals felt a performance assessment was a much better measure of a candidate's readiness for licensure than a multiple choice assessment. I hope this gave you an overview of the edTPA process at UNI, a national process we have been involved with for the last 5 years.